Josh and Frankie. What a couple of dumb shits.
Hello, primates! You found Primus Tracks. Congratulations. There are many places to find Primus Tracks, including this here podcast, but you can also get more Primus Tracks at Instagram or Threads or Facebook. Simply search for Primus Tracks. You can also go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks for more ramblings from myself. I am Josh, one of the hosts of Primus Tracks, and he is on the 39th floor of Primus Tracks Towers. He's Frankie Bearstein.
Hey, Josh.
Welcome back, Frankie. We are discussing the final track of A Fungi and Foe. This is it. No more fungi, no more foe after this day.
Is it as long or longer than George Martin?
I believe this is the longest track on the record at 5 minutes and 58 seconds.
Okay, because I was going to say that if it's longer than George Martin, it somehow feels shorter.
Given how we measure time, it's the longest track on the record. So Rosco exceeds George Martin in conventional standards of time by 8 seconds. But in how you feel this track, it's much shorter.
Yes.
Interesting. I suppose we should talk about that.
I have a special farewell to Fungi and Foe when we finish discussing Roscoe, okay?
Okay, so I'm prepared for your special bittersweet farewell to a record you hold in high regard.
Yes.
And a record I just listened to over the course of 12 weeks for the first time in 16 years.
Now, I have some things I want to highlight about Ol Rosco.
Yeah, please.
It's interesting how the song just barges in. Have you noticed that?
Yes, it just starts, and the vocals are right there, and we're hearing about Rosco.
It just starts. Yeah. It's like you walked into the song happening. It's not like the song began playing. It's like you walked into it just right on time for Les to begin the first verse. I always found that peculiar.
That's a rarity throughout Les's music. I agree with you there. There's usually some kind of introduction or some kind of fade-in with sound or instrumentation that starts the track, and then we get to the verse. There's a lot of traditional song structure throughout the Primus and Les Claypool catalog, but this one, we're dropped right in. And I guess given that this is about, a guy who's hanging at the bar getting sloshed, then driving off, it is like you walk into the bar and this narrator goes, "Hey, you seen Rosco?"
Yeah.
And then immediately you're back into the Rosco drama or situation, just walking through the door of the bar. That is something that is different about this tune. Yeah, for sure.
I also want to highlight that there's a parallel between Ol Rosco and one of my favorite songs on the Purple Onion record, Buzzards of Green Hill. Can you tell what it is?
Oh, of course. So there's a guy in Buzzards of Green Hill whose name I don't
John
remember.
Donovan.
Thank you. And he's been driving drunk on the back roads. That's right. And
yes, and he causes the death of a mother and a child.
Oh my gosh.
And Rosco does exactly the same on this album, except that the woman was pregnant.
That's right. Yeah, so we're treading familiar lyrical territory here. Certain, like just thematically, but also even with some of those details that it mirrors another song. Wow.
Yeah.
So I knew that it was familiar territory. Like a habitual drunk driver is not outside the realm of Claypoolian lyrics. I think it's tailor-made for a Claypool commentary. But he's been there before. So that's of interest. So we may have to compare those two sets of lyrics a little more closely. We should give the basics on Rosco as well. So this one is track 12 on the record, the final track, of course. It is 5 minutes and 58 seconds, making it the longest track on the record from a standpoint of time. We have Les Claypool, or Claytool, on string bass, vocals, atmospherics, and percussion. And I'm not sure who's on, and I don't even know if it's marimba. I think it's marimba. I'm not sure who's on it. There's no credit to that. So it might be an oversight that Mike D did that performance and was uncredited. It might be Les Claypool. And we also have Sam Bass on cello. Now, this track is, as we mentioned last time, a Fungi track. This is from Mushroom Men, the Spore Wars soundtrack. Although this one's interesting, Frankie, because this was not fully complete when it was submitted to the Mushroom Men in terms of what we hear on Of Fungi and Foe. This is the instrumental on the Mushroom Men soundtrack is much more spare. It does not include the scat singing part. It doesn't have that big percussion to it. It doesn't have the cello. It's very much stripped down. So we get to see how Les gussies it up for the record, which is really interesting because I think Mushroom Men and Amanitas are much more complete sans vocals for Mushroom Men and for Fungi and Foe. So this one was like a work in progress, or he just knew he wanted to do something more with it in the studio for the album. So we might as well hear a bit of it in Mushroom Men form. As you can hear, not everything's there, and obviously no vocals. Those atmospherics are there. You can find the Spore Wars soundtrack and all the Claypool contributions to that on YouTube, which is where I just sourced that. So let's compare that with our track on Of Fungi and Foe, Frankie. I am going to forward straight to my favorite part of the track. As you state, Frankie, we are introduced to the song right away, and so we get what we get in the first 30 seconds. We get the gist. And it moves along with that same structure, but then we get a really interesting part in between verses here. Yes. When I listened to this initially, years and years ago, that was my favorite part of the album. And it still is. It rips. It's so heavy. So as you can hear, between Mushroom Men and Fungi and Foe, that percussion was added, that booming percussion, the cello, and obviously those vocals. And if you listen really closely in your right channel, you can hear a very low register Claypool voice, like way down there. And I'm sure it was treated doing the boom didn't diddy boom didn't diddy, like way down there. It's great. Now that is an earworm. I listened to that record, I put it away, never came back to it, but that stuck with me. And so even for weeks after listening to that record initially, that was in my head. It's really fun just to get down there and boom didn't diddy boom didn't diddy boom didn't diddy boom. Great fun. I'm a big fan of that.
Something that I have noticed about the lyrics is that I don't know whether they were half improvised in front of a microphone or Les had them fully written down before the recording, but it's really great how he sometimes stumbles on some of the words, or there are even some lyrics where for a moment it's like he's grasping for words. And I think that's really cool because it makes the song sound like a very organic, very authentic narration. It's like he's singing as the story is coming to his mind. I don't know whether it was intentional or he was actually improvising a little, but the lyrics have that kind of train of thought nature to them.
That makes sense. I think in concert with the vocal delivery, which is pretty loose, I agree, because it's not locked into that simple rhythm underneath. It's like free verse. It's untethered from the rhythm. So now he has to fit it in because he wants it to, he wants to hit his mark to move to that chorus, but he has plenty of space to play. Let's hear that.
Ol Rosco, he's too damn drunk to drive. Seen him pissing in the bathroom. That's when he gave me the evil eye.
That's nice and
I
loose.
said, boy, I think you had too many. Why don't you give up them keys? He told me to mind my business. Said he's gonna do us damn well, please.
So is that one of the elements you're talking about with the said he's gonna do that part?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that repetition is really interesting because it does make it sound looser, and that the narrator is telling us the story. Like the narrator just came out of the bathroom and it is telling us this while we're sitting at the bar. Speaking of that, I love the second half of this verse.
Hot coffee. And an only on tap.
There's another stuff.
I put the only to my lips. Then I poured the hot coffee in his lap.
Now, usually you would give somebody coffee to drink to sober them up in this situation, but he dumped the hot coffee in Roscoe's lap. So we know what he thinks, our narrator thinks of Roscoe. Not a fan, and wants to do him harm. That's going to hurt. By the way, the Oli on tap is something I've always connected to in this tune because Olympia beer is divine. It's my favorite dive beer. It's wonderful. It's out of Washington State. It was, of course, bought up, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, and has changed hands a bunch of times, excuse me. But Oli beer, still one of my favorites. So as far as the story goes, Frankie, there are a lot of lyrics. This is definitely lyric heavy, and I appreciate that it is, because the foundation of this tune, as we heard from the Mushroom Men sample, is fairly spare. Works great for a video game or musical accompaniment while somebody's playing a video game. A straight transfer to a studio record would not have been as effective.
Yes.
So yes, this gussying up with the boom and then that additional cello and instrumentation and then just filling it with the story is a fantastic idea.
Would you mind sampling the cello, because it's one of my favorite parts of the song?
You got a time code for me? Because I didn't write one down for that.
I do not have one, sir.
Oh, wait, I take that back. I've got, excuse me. I do have like my favorite part of the cello here.
Jewish.
Cello time. That's my favorite cello part at any rate. I'll move back a bit so we can hear more. I love how that ascension ends that section. Sounds great.
That's two tracks in a row where you have already great songs, but then the cello just elevated them even further.
Yeah, and I think Sam Bass had tons of space for that too, sonically,
yes,
but also time-wise, because the tracks are so spare underneath. Now, Pretty Little Song is a little bit busier in terms of sounds ping-ponging around and screaming in the background and the envelope filter, but Sam, found the space there, and in this track, he's got all the space in the world, so he's doing some really cool stuff with it.
Yes.
And it does remind me, that this track without it would be less compelling.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that, and then of course my favorite part with the scat singing and the big drums, pretty great stuff. So this, for me, and I've said this before, ranking the tracks on the album we don't normally do, but this is certainly one of my top tracks on the record. This one is a straightforward, lyrically, we've talked about it a bit. This is a straightforward story about a habitual drunk driver, and obviously Les Claypool is not glorifying drunk driving. He's vilifying it. And he does very well to paint Rosco as the criminal that he is. Now, somebody who makes a bad decision one time and drives while buzzed, okay. Like, learn from your mistake, dude. You shouldn't have done it in the first place, but you can learn from that, right? This guy, Rosco, he's an actual criminal, and he's an egotistical one because he habitually drives drunk. He won't give up his keys. He tells people to mind their business, and he's sideswiping stuff and people, and he's getting fined, but he's not going to jail because I guess he thinks he can get away with it. Maybe, and he's incorporated, which is in the lyric, which tells me he's a local businessman of some clout, I suppose, so that he is shielded in some way from damages for his drunk driving. So he's like the worst kind of criminal, the one that thinks they're untouchable. And I would venture to say that Rosco might be the shittiest person that Les Claypool has ever written about. Because in a lot of these lyrical stories, there are desperate people who are making bad decisions.
He's a contender for sure. Yeah,
there's people that have fall into drugs and an unsustainable form of life or lifestyle, that you can have some sympathy and empathy for some of these characters. Rosco just fucking sucks.
Yeah, Rosco is just a jerk. He
is a jerk. There's no redeeming quality about this guy. So that is what I think sets this apart lyrically as well. And with the commentary, I poured the coffee in his lap. Some say it serves him right. The selfish son's a bitch. So he's like, the narrator's pulling no punches either. Like telling us this dude sucks ass. We hate this guy.
I think that Rosco is bottom left on the record.
Oh, as far as the cover image?
Yes.
That mousy looking guy with the big nose and wacky facial hair. I mean, it almost looks like a mugshot.
Yeah.
So I'll buy it.
Buy it.
The other one I wanted to point out was driving his daughter home from dancing school. So once again, I think he's a guy of means because he can send his daughter to dancing school. The lyrics genius screwed up the lyrics. It's not right. I'll just go with this. Caught him red nose slurring. He blew a .09. His wife had to come and get him. Paid a $200 fine. So a couple of things there. On the breathalyzer, most states anymore, 0.08 BAC on the breathalyzer means you are drunk in the legal definition. And so 0.09 means he's over the limit. And he only pays a $200 fine for that. As opposed to nowadays, states are taking drunk driving much more seriously. And a $200 fine sounds like a remnant of the past when drunk driving was a low priority offense. Actually, Frankie, it reminded me of this Bill Hicks bit. If you'll indulge me and let me play this classic piece from old Bill about driving drunk.
Close to 10 years ago. You remember 10 years ago, the attitude? You got pulled over, you were drinking, cop comes up to your car. Son, you been drinking? Yeah. Sorry to bother you. Hope I didn't bring your buzz down any. Didn't know y'all were partying, didn't mean to startle you. All righty. Sure, I'll dance.
That's a callback to something I didn't play.
A little more easygoing, right? 10 years ago? Yeah, it was. Now, if you get pulled over and you've been drinking, that's the end of the fucking chase. There could be bank robberies going on around you, kidnappings, terrorist activities. Fuck it. Every cop car in the county pulls up to watch you audition for your freedom.
So Bill continues on that strand, but it's just To me, the connection is he's highlighting the difference as to how drunk driving was perceived decades ago to how it's enforced or otherwise viewed now, which is as a high-profile crime. So I think that's really shrouded in the lyrics, but I'm still pulling it from that, from the Claypool lyrics, and just that association with the Bill Hicks bit that it reminded me of.
Lastly, I just wanted to highlight that the marimba also enhances the song.
Yeah, and that's on the original track that's on the video game. I wish I
Yes.
knew who to credit that to.
Very nuanced, very, how can I describe it? It kind of complements the lyrics really well. It provides very nice melody.
Yes, and it provides a counterpoint to what the bass is doing. So there's some little elements of harmony if you're listening closely. You can hear it as those two contrast one another. It's great. I really like, and maybe it's just comparing it to the rest of the record, I really like this track for the musical elements, and the lyrics are really straightforward. And here's a shitty guy who is ruining other people's lives and doesn't care. What a dick. I mean, he, crashes head on into another car. The PT Cruiser thing, a good friend of mine willingly bought a PT Cruiser in the last year and likes driving it around. So I endlessly mock him for that because they're notoriously unreliable. It's already been in the shop a bunch of times for him. So I give him grief every time he pulls up in the Cruiser. But yeah, it's a really tragic story. Like he kills, he's drunk driving. He's driving. I'll say it again. He's driving drunk. He kills a family essentially and doesn't give a shit. He's worried about being sued. That's it.
Jerk.
Right. And then he has his son drive him around so he can continue to get plastered. And we have the repetition of life's great and denial. So we know we know about Rosco and we know where the narrator stands. So really unsavory character. I hate him. I hate his guts. So I think the visceral reaction I'm having to the lyrics too is part of the reason why it's probably my favorite track on the record. So we've talked about it enough, and I just need to. I'm going to step back and cool off, Frankie. Whew.
So would you say that you that some of the joy that you elicit out of Roscoe comes from hate listening?
Hate listening in terms of the character within it. Yes, not hate listening to the song itself.
So it's because I just found out yesterday. I discovered that that's actually a thing. There's a hobby called hate watching.
Yes, watching something you absolutely despise, mostly to shit on it. And point out all of its inconsistencies and lousy production, so on and so forth. Absolutely. I don't participate in that, but I am familiar with the concept. So there is hate listening as well. I did some hate listening to things like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC back in the day, just so I could mock it. Okay. Absolutely. Plenty of hate listening going on back then. I had the time and the energy for it. These days, not so much in either account. So we've talked about Roscoe enough. Let's hear from our Primatrons. If you would like to be involved in the discussion of the track that we're talking about, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Primus Tracks. The universal constant over there is Primates Takes. I post the thread, you post your thoughts, and I read them right here. For example, Frankie, our pal Brooks Delight
Brooks breaks it down.
Says, I've always felt that this track could have been way more interesting with a fuller band. It just feels too empty to me. Interesting perspective, Brooks, as we just cataloged how Les gussied it up for this record to make it a bit more full. Not full enough for Brooks.
Interesting. Yeah.
What would you add to this track, Frankie, to enhance it further?
That's a good question. It would be interesting to hear what Paolo Baldi would have done if he had been invited to this track.
Okay, yeah, more extensive percussion from Paulo. I want to hear Tom Waits on Mellotron again. I want to hear him on this. I think that would just add that layer of atmospherics, like it does for Coattails of a Dead Man. I would love to hear something like that. Eric in Australia, once again, our resident curmudgeon who brightened up for a Fungi and Foe. So once again, we'll be returning to regular Eric programming soon. Says this one overstays its unwelcome. Oh, Eric, damn. He goes on to say, damn, Gina. Not a bad song musically, but whereas Buzzards of Green Hill has a similar theme in this one, Les really throws down his message hard. So there's that Buzzards of Green Hill connection again, Frankie, with the drunk driver, swerving around, being naughty. And our pal John Shreve sums up Rosco as follows. If nothing else, this is a weird send-off. Chocolate Factory coming next makes perfect sense. I can't wait for the tater-shaped moon falling from the sky. We didn't really talk about the aspect of this being the final track. I do want to get to that. I'm not sure what John's getting at with Chocolate Factory coming next because, as you know, Frankie, in 2010... Actually, Primus reformed with Jay Lane and toured and then recorded Green Naugahyde.
I guess thematically, or at least sonically, because of all the cello and the sparse instrumentation and the space, I guess you can kind of see a Chocolate Factory making sense after this song.
Okay, yeah, this is the direction Fungi and Foe points.
Yeah, because, the Chocolate Factory is the Fungi ensemble.
Right, so this points to what is to come with Chocolate Factory featuring the Fungi Ensemble. Great point. All right, I'm buying what John has to say there. Yeah, because it certainly is a fungi type record. The Chocolate Factory is. Exactly. And if you want to hear more about it, we did a 3-episode run on that entire record and tour.
Wow, it
was great. Soya was all over it.
We just discovered on the PT Facebook this week with
PT Cruiser.
Yeah, with the chocolate drum kit discussion, one of our readers shared a really fabulous moment. Let me bring that up real quick.
Okay. While you're doing that, I am now envisioning the jam vehicle that we always talk about as a PT Cruiser. Makes perfect sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I would not be embarrassed to ride in that one.
Our listener, Sean Lyons, shared this really cool photograph of his bride posing next to an Oompa Loompa on the Chocolate Factory kit. And I, of course, inquired for some background information. He said that he got married that day in New Orleans, and Primus just so happened to be in town during that tour. So they reached out, and Soya, in full Oompa Loompa regalia, posed for the photograph with his bride. And I don't know about you, but I think this very well might be the most original and cool wedding picture I have ever seen.
That one would rank up there with the best, for sure. Shout out to Sean Lyons, by the way. Some people know him as Sleepy Hal, especially Sleepy Buckethead Hal fans. Yeah, he's an interesting dude. We got to get him on the podcast. I think we talked about that before.
Wow, yeah, legends all over the place, dropping comments on these posts.
Sleepy Hal's all over it. I wanted to go back to something that John brought up in his take, which was this is a weird send-off. And I wanted to ask you, Frankie, we have a rich tradition of highly engaging, towering final tracks or penultimate tracks, especially on a Primus record where there's some kind of outro track. But the last legitimate song on a record is usually one of the bigger, more powerful ones. I'm thinking Fish On, Grapevine, Cosmic Highway. So do you think that Rosco stands up with those as being an appropriate closing track for a Claypool Primus record?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because these are two completely different worlds. With Primus, yes, you get a very theatrical send-off on the records. But with Les, I think by this point we are accustomed to the final song on the album being something very off-center, something very atypical of what you would associate with a climax or a conclusion. So, harking back to Riddles Are About Tonight, the album ends with a very weird instrumental.
Yeah.
The last song on the previous record on Wales and Woe was also this bizarre instrumental experiment. So I think with his solo records or adjacent records to Primus, Les is not concerned about the final song being kind of a farewell or a send-off. I guess what he aims at with the final song is just leaving you wondering what happened.
I can see that with Carolina Rig and Off-White Guilt for sure. Cosmic Highway might...
He's trying to unsettle you.
Yeah. I don't know if Cosmic Highway would qualify because that does have that epic quality to it.
It is an epic. Yeah, that could be the exception.
But it certainly is different. It's not something that you typically get from him. So, yeah, I think leaving us wondering what happened is a great way to describe it for these closers in the solo world. All right, I can buy it. Yeah, this track really stands up for me. This is probably my top track on the record. And,
really? This is your top?
After listening to all 12 tracks again, this is it. This is the one for me, for sure. There you go. I don't have a top 5 or anything. I know you had made a rough list for yourself, but this is my top track on the record. Errol might be number 2. I don't know where I would go from there. So that's where I'm falling on that standard. But we should wrap up the record. We're on the last track. For me, of course, it was my first listen in a long time, as I've said numerous times, and I didn't come back to it for many, many years. Don't know if I'll come back to it again anytime soon, but I did.
How much did you enjoy it?
So it was rewarding to come back to it because it was almost like new music. That's what was really helpful for me, and I have a new appreciation for it. I feel I'm certainly not dismissing it out of hand as I did when I was younger and more impatient. I think that there are redeeming qualities to it. I think a hardcore fan definitely needs to listen to it, as I did, because you get some of the musical narrative that carries forward after 2009, as our pal John Shreve says. This certainly informs Chocolate Factory. So there's elements to it that carry the narrative, the musical narrative, that is. And I don't know if it rises in the ranks as far as albums go, but it's there, and I've heard it again, and I've really listened to it closely. So I've done my due diligence, Frankie. And it wasn't like I was singing a pretty little song while being tortured the entire time I listened to it. It wasn't that experience. It was fine. I'm here. I'm smiling. I'm happy. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on this record, especially as we close it out, because it is one that you hold in high esteem.
I have a special send-off for this record. Are you ready for it?
I'm sitting up straight. I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. People say they love Primus. They might wear the t-shirts. They'll pretend to like Jerry was a race car driver, and they will not when you bring up Frizzle Fry. But the thing about Primus is that people don't get Les Claypool. They don't listen to Les Claypool records. I've been listening a lot to Les Claypool lately. His 2009 solo album of Fungi And Foe, it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Christy, take off your robe. There's something about it that is unsettling, yet meticulously precise. It's not just music. It's Performance art dressed in the skin of avant-garde. The bass work is sharp, elastic, clean. Each slap and pop sounds like surgical incisions cutting through the flesh of conventional rhythm. Sabrina, remove your dress. Claypool is not content to play bass. He inhabits the instrument. He wrings something primal out of it, something that sounds more like language than music. Tracks like Red State Girl, What Would Sir George Martin Do? They are not just songs. They are studies. He's deconstructing Americana and rebuilding it into something bizarre, fungal growth of sound. It is grotesque, but in a way that is expansive. It's modernly grotesque. You don't know what to look. You don't want to look away, even though parts of you feel like you should. Sabrina, why don't you dance a little? The production is dry, almost clinical. Each note has a space to breathe or to suffocate, depending on how you listen. It's not lush like Sailing the Seas of Cheese. It's stripped down, like a body that has been peeled open for examination. There is no attempt to seduce the listener. Claypool is not interested in whether you like it. He's more interested in whether you understand it, which, of course, most people don't. Christy, get down on your knees. That's what I admire about this record. It's completely detached, but in a deliberate way. There is irony, but it's kind of a sardonic grin behind every bass line. It's as if he's mocking both the art scene and the audience simultaneously. Sometimes when I'm listening to Mushroom Men, the track he wrote for a video game, all of the things that he describes, I can picture them perfectly in my mind. Spores drifting in the dark, the surreal little creatures moving through decay and rot. It is organic. It is perfect, like the world, if you strip away the illusion of order. Sabrina, don't just stare, eat. Fungi and Foe is not music for everyone. It's music for people who see through the gloss, who understand that beneath the surface, beneath the smiles and the suits, there is something twitching, pulsing, alive.
Hey, Paul!
So, how was that?
That was great. Absolutely. That's excellent commentary. I think Prawn Song Records needs to hire you to write their copy. That was pretty great. Now that's a send-off to a record. So we know how lovingly you treat this record when you hear it. Mine was so pedestrian in comparison, which was, I'm okay with it now. Yours much more informed and descriptive. So I guess that's it for Fungi and Foe. I believe, first of all, Fungi and Foe, you've both been tracked. Next time, Frankie, I think it's Duo de Twang time.
Oh, yes.
So we get to work our way through the Duo de Twang record one way or another. We will have some inter-album interviews coming up before Duo de Twang, but that's what to look for next. Looking forward to these. We've got a bunch of great stuff in the can. I don't want to spoil it, but there's good stuff coming. Frankie,
Josh.
Primates, Primatrons, people of Earth, thank you all for listening. Thank you for your support. Thanks for navigating a Fungi and Foe with us. We'll be back with more greatness. Later days.
Willie Mace.
Life's great in